Welcome to the Author's Edge radio show with Guy L. Freer and Bob Price. Now, their show airs nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Each week on their show, they help authors create books that transform our lives and imaginations. Through radio excellence, they create a unique community resource, one that promotes, connects, and fosters a sense of well-being. Gael and Bob maintain a focus on sharing books, publishing, marketing, and writing solutions. They serve listeners by providing outlets for their creative skills and energies, and they help them flourish in the competitive marketplace. Their weekly show provides intros, writing spotlights, helps you in promoting your book, your writing, your publishing, your marketing tidbits, and much more. Okay, audience, here's Gael and Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hello, Gael.
You've been gone a long time.
Well, I took a trip
I know.
and I went to COVID land
Oh, boy.
for 2 weeks. It
Did
was
you
so
have
much fun.
fun?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
And the ride you take, it was just like
Was it
aches and pains.
Was it a roller coaster ride?
It was.
Was it up
It
and
was.
down
It
and up?
was. It
And you went
was.
through fog
Mhm.
and rain?
Have you transformed anybody? Do you
Uh,
wiggle your nose when you transform?
Oh, just like Bewitched. Remember that show,
Yes,
Bewitched?
yes,
Woo!
yes,
Yes, yes,
okay.
yes. But I understand we have a very interesting guest with us today.
We do. Mark Bliss is here today.
Uh-huh.
And Mark is a veteran journalist who spent more than 3 decades in the newspaper business, most of that time as a reporter for the Southeast Missourian Daily newspaper in the Mississippi River city of Cape Girardeau.
Mo.
Mm-hmm.
As in Mo,
As
Missouri.
in Missouri. Throughout his career, he covered everything from politics to murder. He retired in 2019 and published his first Elmwood mystery novel, Foul Rising, in 2021, and his second, Grounded in Murder, in 2023. He was elected to the Cape Girardeau City Council in April of 2022. Did that have anything to do with murder?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Oh, well,
Maybe a few people want to murder you once you're on a council. I can tell you that.
you mean you get letters?
Oh, letters, texts,
Oh,
people who are very unhappy. Yes.
You know, happy letters?
No, occasionally, very occasionally. Most of the time it is, when can you fix my pothole? How come the deer are eating my flowers? They eat mine too. So things like that. And they didn't like what decision you made. And then they write little things and comments. In the newspaper, they get to put little comments too. All those like reader things like, what are those idiots doing? And things like that. So,
Well,
yeah.
let me get off topic. How did you get into journalism?
Well, I went to Southeast Missouri State University, and I was going to be a teacher. But at the time I went there in the early to mid 70s, all the professors said, don't be a teacher. They don't get paid anything. And
How true.
And so, yeah, I was going to be a history teacher. Then I was going to be an English teacher, but I had a course on Chaucer, and we were studying Beowulf, and I really could not get through it. So I quit going to class. And then I told my advisor, said, can you stick it out? And I said, I haven't been in about 5 weeks. Oh, I think you need to drop that class. The only class I dropped. She happened to be teaching journalism classes. So I started taking her classes, and I always liked writing. I always liked creative writing. And so I got into the writing business. You know, that was about the time Woodward and Bernstein and, you know, all of that and the Watergate. And so, you know, I thought that's cool, you know. So I got into that. And in the time period that I was a student, most college students didn't really think about making money. And of course, I didn't make money really, but I got into that, as my kids said later, Dad, why didn't you get a more high paying job? But anyway, so I did that. And so,
Well, you didn't run into Deep Throat in Cape, did you?
no,
Okay.
no, there was no Deep Throat in Cape, movie or otherwise. Anyway, that's kind of how I got
What was the most
into it.
memorable story that you
Well,
ran across?
I can tell you that one. Actually, you probably think it's weird, but
Oh, we love weird.
okay.
We love
Well,
weird.
I mean, over the course of time, okay, I've like interviewed George Bush when he ran for president, the younger George Bush. Sat in a vehicle with him on a campaign thing and interviewed him. And I've covered, Reagan, Trump came to Cape, covered that. That was an interesting experience. But anyway, my most interesting one, as far as I love talking to people who had interesting hobbies. And years ago, I did this story on a guy in Cape Girardeau who had 4,000 spark plugs. He collected
spark
Yes,
plugs?
he collected spark plugs.
Did they call him Sparky?
No. He collected spark plugs like from the early 1900s. They had this nice ceramic part of it. And he had these wooden things like a jewelry store would have all these little cubby holes, little tiny drawers, and he would pull one out. So I wrote a story about it. And at that time, it got picked up by the wire service. At that time, it was UPI wire service picked up this story. And I think it ran in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch too, the story about thing. And I've always remembered that because I just thought it was such an unusual hobby. And every time I tell anybody about it, they go, wow, spark plugs. Who knew?
Right,
Spark plugs.
Right. It was all about gaps.
I still like Sparky better.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, who was the gentleman?
Oh, see, I can't remember his name now.
But you remember him being Sparky.
Yeah, that was it. He lived in kind of a log cabin, kind of in the woods in Cape. And I'm sure, I think he may have worked for the university, but he was definitely a very interesting person. Another very interesting person, when I was a student at SEMO, there was this physics professor, Harley Rutledge. And he became well known. There was a lot of articles written in St. Louis papers about him because he investigated UFOs down in Puxico.
Oh.
And so I interviewed him for a story, and he was going to be writing a book. He told me he was going to write a book on it, but he never really did. But I did see some of the pictures. He showed me this black and white grainy picture with this cigar looking shape in the sky, which he insisted was a UFO. So anyway, but you meet a lot of really interesting people.
Well, UFOs in Cape, Benton in particular, that was the first UFO in the U.S.
Benton?
It's actually between Benton and Chaffee.
There was a UFO.
1941.
And you were there.
I was close. Are you picking on me?
Well, who else do I have to pick on?
Oh,
I'd have to pick on my husband then.
Yes.
And he's like, he was looking for a relief here. So you're the relief pitcher there.
Oh.
What can I tell you? I mean, really.
Well, but UFOs were big.
I know.
That was the first one before Roswell.
Before Roswell.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been to Roswell?
Yep.
Oh, I have not.
Yep. All you can see is a bunch of restaurants with aliens in front of them. But,
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah.
So what was the toughest interview you ever covered?
The toughest interview. Well, one time I had to go, there was a murder. It was down near Delta, and photographer and I went down, and the boyfriend of this woman had killed her child.
Oh.
And so she was there. Police had already left, and she was there. at this trailer, and we knocked on the door, and she let us in, and I proceeded to talk to her for probably about half an hour. And
your
that was
diagnosis
kind of
was
hard.
Yeah.
Well, it was really hard, but I've found over the years that a lot of times when things are bad situations, people want to talk about it. They want to talk about their loved one. They want to talk about, the person that died and their memory and all that.
They don't want to be forgotten.
They don't want to be forgotten.
And they don't want that person to be forgotten.
Right. But that
would be hard.
That's really hard. I mean, I've covered politics, and, half the time they're not answering the question that you want answered anyway. Yeah.
Why did you kill the kid?
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So anyway.
What was your favorite interview?
Well, I interviewed Bob Hope.
Oh, tell us about that one.
So when there was this big arena built in Cape Girardeau on the university campus, and one of the first acts they were going to have was Bob Hope. And so I arranged to get an interview with him, and they said, call this number, and it's his house.
Mm-hmm.
So I call his number, and this lady answers, presumably, housekeeper or whatever. And I say my name, and for Bob Hope, she goes, 1 minute. She goes and gets Bob, and Bob gets on there, and we had a very nice chat. He was just very, very friendly and everything. When he came to Cape, actually, to do his little comedy routine, I was not there, but a photographer was there for the paper. He decided before the event, he liked golf, and so they got up on the top of the roof of the arena, and he shot golf balls off the roof. But he's great guy. So I don't know, just over the years, just lots of different people. I once interviewed Tiny Tim at the SEMO District Fair. He was way past his prime, but most of them are by the time they get to Cape Girardeau, right? So he was there. I got to interview him. So lots of different.
Did
people.
he have a prime?
I don't know.
He did.
I don't know, but
prime.
No, did he?
Tiny Tim
I don't know.
It's when he did that one song. What was it?
Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
That was his prime.
That was it.
Then after that, it was downhill from there.
15 minutes of fame.
Everybody gets their 15 minutes.
And he got to play at the Cape Girardeau at the SEMO District Fair, which is clearly famous.
Really
everybody wants to be there.
Oh, I would think so.
Step up in the world.
That sounds like it to me. So what was the differences between writing and versus reporting? When you're writing, what are the differences between writing and reporting?
Well, reporting is, I guess, a little more stylized. Everything is like he said, or the attribution. You have a few quotes. A lot of times it's mostly paraphrased. It's mostly done in what they call the pyramid form, which is generally your lead is the basic summation type thing.
Mm-hmm.
There are features. You can write feature stories differently, but most of that, you're basically just taking facts and information and putting it into a cohesive story.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you're doing creative and when you're writing fiction, you're creating the whole plot, creating, dialogue, which is different than, in the newspaper, you might have a quote, but you don't have an interaction between characters where they're talking back to each other. So that's
a biggie.
That's a big difference. But I've always liked writing. Like I said, I like creative writing before I even got into journalism. When I was a little kid, my mom still had it. I wrote this little Western, it was on the 3-line paper and everything. You
still have it?
I still have it somewhere, in a box somewhere. But I always like doing that.
So when you become famous, it's going to be framed?
Yes, that's it. That's it.
Is writing mystery novels in your retirement plan? Is that your plan ahead?
Yeah, that's. I had the idea for my first book, Foul Rising. I had the idea for that while I was still, in the last few years I was working, and I kept thinking about this, and I thought, I'm going to write this, but I never did really get around to it. Then I thought, I'm going to do this, and I started writing it. And a friend of mine, who I'd gone to school with and had not talked to in decades, we both had worked on the student newspaper, and we got back in touch, and he encouraged me to write the book, to finish writing the book, and gave me a lot of pointers on that. So we had gotten back together because we were trying to get a reunion of the Capoeira, the student newspaper staff from all these decades. And then the COVID hit, and so we couldn't have an in-person reunion.
Who is your friend?
So we Zoom. It's Jim Wilder in Springfield.
Okay.
And he and I both were editors at the student newspaper, and years ago, and in the 70s. And so, but we had not really stayed in touch for years. And then we got back together, and then we started talking, and now I talk to him, once a week or once every other week anyway. And we share, we share pointers about different marketing things, ways to do stuff.
Is he a writer also?
Yes. So he's writing a mystery series. His are set not in present day. His are set back and started in the late 1890s. I think he's now up to the 1920s now. So it's set in Missouri, but actually set in eastern Missouri in Jefferson County, because his grandparents grew up in Jefferson County. So anyway, so he's got a whole series, but we share a lot of not ideas on plots, but I mean ideas about marketing. Like I told him that, hey, I'm coming to do this radio show, and so he said, hey, how's that going to be? Tell me how it is and stuff. So we get a lot of ideas, and then every now and then we will do a joint book signing, which is a whole lot of fun because we get to meet and reminisce and also sell our books and stuff.
Well, you're listening to The Author's Edge with Guy L. Freer and Bob Price. That's me. Coming to you weekly on Saturdays at 10 a.m. on KWRH 92.6, 92.9, and KXOK 102.9 FM, and Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network. You can also view our latest videos or past shows at it's authors-edge.com online, and download valuable information on marketing, publishing, and writing.
And you did send me your marketing tidbits this time. Good boy. You did good.
Yeah.
Sometimes you listen to the instructions.
It's hard. You can do plenty of things for marketing. There are 5 ways an author can market themselves. So this is really an article that I believe was 47 ways. And I'll post it up on the website so that you can download it. But I'm going to give you 5 of these. And you can, number 1 is build or update your website. So update it, bring it current, and in doing so, what you'll do is make sure that you're found at Google.
Like you updated ours? Just saying.
Yes.
I thought I'd keep it up there.
Well, yes. Okay. I'm glad you brought that up. Develop or revise. Number 2, develop or revise a marketing campaign. So really think out what you're wanting to do and accomplish, put your goals down, and make a plan so that you got a plan to really get this done. So you know how to implement it and make it happen. hire a marketing consultant. That would be like
You?
Gael.
No. You're the
Oh.
you're the marketing
Oh.
consultant.
Oh,
I'm
well-
just the cute and adorable one.
well, you are. And number 4 is apply for book awards. You know, it's kind of interesting that a lot of authors don't really do this because they're kind of self-conscious or they don't have the confidence to really sell themselves. And regardless,
That is a big problem for a lot of writers. They
Yeah.
keep saying, "Oh, it's okay. My book is okay,"
right,
but they don't put
you've
themselves out
really
there.
got to put yourself out there
Mhm.
and apply for as many awards or anything.
Because you have to remember, what is the very worst that happens?
Yeah,
You just
somebody
don't
might
get
buy
it.
your book.
And
Right.
somebody just might buy your book.
Right.
You just might win.
And number 5 is create press kit materials. Create a 1-page sheet.
What does that mean?
It's 1 page.
Very good.
Okay.
But what's on that one page?
Okay. Well, the thing that is on the 1 page is all about you and your book. Use this 1-page sheet, really. You can get speaking arrangements,
Mhm.
Engagements. You can also use it for podcasts. Podcasts are really big in getting online and getting yourself out there. But it's a 1-page sheet that's really about you and your book. Tell the story. Tell your story. That's my 5 tidbits.
Your 5 tidbits. Very good, Bob. Excellent. Good boy. Now, we have a quote
Oh,
from Mr. Bliss. Quote
Are-
from
are
the
you
Connor.
gonna read
Actually,
this?
yes, I'm going to read this. It's in blue. See, the blue stuff is in mine. The red stuff is yours. Okay.
okay.
Quote from Connor Tate in Grounded in Murder. And I really like this. If only these tombstones could talk. I like that. Did you like that? What prompted you to write these murder mysteries?
I've always enjoyed writing mystery or reading mysteries. And
So you have a whodunit type thinking going? I mean, do you like to figure it out?
yeah, I like the ones that kind of Louise Penny is one of my favorite mystery writers. And I like her books because they really develop the characters. There's a lot of character interaction. It's not just, car chase scenes or something like that. And so I like the interaction. I like a mystery is a puzzle. I like thinking about trying to solve the puzzle, trying to figure out who it is. So I've read a lot of different mysteries. And another of my favorite is John Sanford, who, by the way, he writes things. All of his titles have the word prey in it, Prey. So it's the mortal prey, the something prey, all his books. Interestingly, and I only found this out a few years ago, that he, in starting out his journalism career, he's a journalist up in Minnesota. But before that, he started out at the Southeast Missouri, and he was there 1 year because he doesn't write under it's a pen name. So he wrote. So he was here and worked.
Oh,
he worked in
wow.
Cape Girardeau for a year and covered race riots in Cairo, Illinois.
I didn't know that.
There you go. And I happen to like the guy.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. And I believe we are going to go to our commercial break. And when we get back, we are going to continue to talk to Mark Bliss. And we're going to focus on his books.
El Potro Restaurant and Market, located at 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland, offers the finest variety of Mexican and Central American groceries and goods. El Potro Restaurant serves authentic Mexican and Central American cuisine, including daily specials, not to mention the best horchata and tastiest margaritas in St. Louis. Open 7 days a week. El Potro, 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland.
In 1857, the Dred Scott decision was a major legal event and catalyst that contributed to the Civil War. The decision declared that Dred Scott could not be free because he was not a citizen. The 14th Amendment, also called the Dred Scott Amendment, granted citizenship to all born or naturalized here in our country and was intended to overturn the U.S. Supreme Court decision on July 9, 1868. The Dred Scott Heritage Foundation is requesting a commemorative stamp to be issued from the U.S. Postal Service to recognize and remember the heritage of this amendment by issuing a stamp with the likeness of the man Dred Scott. But we need your support and the support of thousands of people who would like to see this happen. To achieve this goal, we ask you to download, sign, and share the one-page petition with others. To find the petition, please go to dredscottlives.org and click on the Dred Scott Petition Drive on the right side of the page. The United States has a strong tradition of welcoming newcomers and refugees. The Welcome Corps is a new service opportunity for Americans inspired to welcome those seeking freedom and safety and in turn help strengthen their own communities. Welcome Corps is a public-private partnership that is inspired by what Americans represent to so many around the world, a beacon of hope and refuge. All it takes is a helping hand. Are you ready to learn more? Contact the International Institute of St. Louis at info@iistl.org or call 314-773-9090. That's info@iistl.org or call 314-773-9090.
Welcome back. We're talking with Mark Bliss, and we're talking about your latest Grounded in Murder.
Yes.
Right.
Why did you decide not to place your characters in Cape Girardeau, but rather a fictional community?
Well, I thought that having a fictional community would allow me to kind of set up the town like I wanted. I mean, in some ways it's patterned after Cape Girardeau. I mean, it's a city in southeast Missouri on the Mississippi River with a concrete flood wall. So there's, people in Cape Girardeau go, oh, that's a lot like Cape Girardeau. Yes, it is a lot like Cape Girardeau, but I can kind of describe it, have changed things I want. Like when I was writing my books, I said, you know what? This town, well, I thought Cape Girardeau needs a jazz club. They don't have one. But in my book, my fictional city of Elmwood, I put a jazz club in there because I thought I want a jazz club in there. And so I wrote it in and have different scenes in the jazz club just because I thought that's cool. I want to have that. So there you go.
So when you created this town, this Elmwood,
yes.
Okay, did you sit down and make a plan for the town? I mean, did you use the basis of Cape Girardeau, or did you do your own description of Elmwood?
I used the foundation in many ways is downtown Cape Girardeau.
Okay.
Like there's a Cajun restaurant in Cape Girardeau. There's a Cajun restaurant.
But like,
did you
draw out a plan, like,
no,
the streets, so that you would have like streets?
I did, to the sense that I had a couple downtown streets. So I knew, like in Cape Girardeau, there's a street. The one right down near the football is called Water Street.
Mm-hmm.
In my book, I have a street right down there called River Street.
Oh, okay.
So I have some things like that. But
some similarities.
And yeah, some similarities. So I generally, in my mind, envision these things. So.
You wouldn't get lost there, would you?
No.
Okay.
It's largely in the downtown.
Right.
The whole.
No, but I'm thinking, like sometimes when a writer creates a town,
mm-hmm.
They'll sit down and they'll sketch out
You mean
a town.
You would have to have a map, huh?
I would have to have a map.
All right.
Because I tend to be OCD. I create scripts.
You're the only woman that would read a map.
Yes, I would have to have it. I would have to have it all mapped out. You'd have to have all the streets. I would have to have all the houses labeled. I'd have to have the stores labeled. There'd have to be a department store. There'd
You
have
know
to be a
who lives
Macy's.
in which house?
Yes, there would be people named.
Oh,
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But that's why I was asking, because
Yeah.
some writers will do that.
Right.
You know.
No, but I kind of have the, because I've worked in.
It has
the
a main
Southeast area
street and a
downtown.
river street, right?
Main Street and
Well,
River Street.
Yeah, there is a main street actually.
Yeah.
And
Well, but every American town has a
that.
main street.
Every town.
Well,
But I also use names in a way.
Mhm.
Like I have the editor in my books.
Mhm.
The newspaper editor's last name is Landsman.
Mhm.
Landsman was the name of an important bricklayer in the history of Cape Girardeau who built the old courthouse that's downtown. And I liked the name. So I used it
Okay.
as
So there's
his
also-
last name.
Right. So there's also historical references.
Right.
To a
So I
degree.
use some names I really like.
Uh-huh.
Like my town, Elmwood, there is an old house on the outskirts of Cape Girardeau that is called Elmwood. And I like that name. So I use that as the name
of the town.
of the town. So I
Right.
get some of things like that. And some personalities of different people. Although I had to tell one of our past mayors when he bought the books, and he said, I had to tell him, now, when you read these, the mayor in my novels is not you, not totally you. You know.
How did he take that?
He actually likes my books, so it must not have been too
well,
bad.
good,
you know?
good.
Yeah.
So how about
tell me about the process that you go about in putting a mystery together. In other words, do you start with an outline? Tell me about that process of how you put this book together?
Okay. Well, I don't use an outline.
You start from the back and go to the front?
No,
or-
I start with a kernel of an idea. So
Okay.
I have a part of the book, a part of the plot in my mind. And I usually think about it a little bit. A lot of times when I'm in the shower, I do some of my best thinking in the shower. But anyway, I just, and then what I'll do is I
Hard to
will
write in the shower, though, isn't it?
No, it is. Yeah.
You keep notes.
Yeah.
Well, no,
it-
actually, there's this thing that you can put in your shower where you can write in the shower. You can
That's
find it on
right.
Amazon. There
Yeah.
is. I'm
but
not kidding.
I don't do that, but it'll go around my mind a little bit. And then somebody will interrupt me, with a cell phone.
Like the cell phone.
Yeah. But anyway, then what I'll do is I'll start a file.
Mm-hmm.
So like for every one of my book, I have a file, and I'll open this up and I will start writing down things. So I'll have this part of the plot. I'll have a character I think, and I'll have a character's name maybe. And I'll start writing all these down. And it's almost like just free flowing. Like I'll just keep adding to this file. And some of the stuff I'll end up using, some stuff I'll change. Sometimes as I'm writing a book, I'll change or add something, So I just write all these things in there. And after a while, I have enough, because I start with this one central thing. Like I might have, how is this book going to start? Okay. I still may not know exactly how it's going to end when I start it, or the first thought. But I write a lot of this down until I have enough in this file that I then do something. So
I'm sorry.
that's kind of that's how I do it. And then I start writing it. So.
Well, so you don't really do an outline.
No.
So, but then how do you come up with your ending?
Well, the ending can change over time. So well,
does that mean that the person who did it changes?
My first book, no. I knew pretty much what was going to happen in my first book and how I was going to end it. But in my second book, as I'm writing it, I came up, it was about halfway through the book that I thought, I'm going to put this kind of surprise ending in here.
Wow.
And I thought of it, and I didn't think of it when I first started writing it and first started writing a particular character. And in the end, I thought, you know what? This character, there were actually several murders, but this character could be one of them. And so but because these characters, as I'm writing them, kind of take on a life of their own.
Yeah.
And so I get to know these characters. And of course, the heroes in each of my book are reporters, being that I'm a former journalist. And so, their characters develop too. And so you just get to know these people. And after a while, you like thought, and something will come to you and you'll go, I'm going to do this. So it's kind of just an interesting way to go about doing it. And my friend, my author friend, I used his last name in one of my books, and he has used my last name.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, except that my character in his books isn't a very
nice person,
likable person, and he's just started writing his next book. And he called me the other day and read what he read, which was that I had just been killed off and everything. And so I told him, you won't have me to kick around anymore after this book and everything. Yes, he wants to make me out as this very bad
Well, at least
police
he had the
chief.
gender right.
Yes, he did. He did have that. I told him that since he's killing me off at the beginning of his book, I expect a very nice eulogy in the book. I said, now there better be a eulogy in there when I read it. So,
well, but you have him in your book.
Yes.
Did you make him a nice guy?
I made him a murder suspect, but I actually, he got exonerated at the end. So I was actually nice to him, but I did tell him after this that maybe I will bring him back in another book and maybe make him worse. I don't know. I'll have to see.
How do you keep your readers, on the edge, or is it like you find something in a chapter, or that?
Yeah. I kind of write by scenes. So I'll have a scene, like I have had a scene of a masquerade party at the jazz club. And so I'll have this scene and I'll kind of write, that'll like be a whole chapter. So I kind of do it like that. And just do so I kind of work that way. And then I usually try at the end of the chapter. A lot of times my characters are asking questions or something. They're still, because they're trying to figure this all out. And of course they always figure it out before the police figured it out. But that's kind of how it goes. But sometimes I'll write a chapter and then I'll realize, I need this other thing to happen before that happened. So then I'll have to go back and kind of insert it in there and stuff. So
how do you develop your characters? I noticed that you have two characters, main characters. You have Connor Tate and you have Rachel Short.
Yeah.
Is Rachel a short woman?
No.
No. Okay. I just want to make sure.
A short woman?
Yeah. Well, because her last name is Short.
I purposely made her not short.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. But no, really what I wanted to know was how you develop how you develop the characters of your people. Well,
Connor in some ways has a lot of the same characteristics that I do.
Okay.
So there's that.
And does Rachel have some of the characteristics of your wife?
No. Actually, I worked with a reporter briefly. She's not a reporter anymore, but whose name was Rachel, and is a really good friend of my youngest daughter. But I don't spell her name the same way, Rachel. I spell it differently.
But tell us how you develop the characters.
Well, I decided that, of course, like the Connor character was kind of me, kind of a veteran reporter. And then I had this other person who wasn't as veteran a reporter.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that it would be nice to have some interaction. The interaction between those two is like runs throughout both the books. And so their relationship grows.
Development.
from the
So
first book
is it
to the second book.
antagonistic? Is it romantic? Is it
It's
platonic?
romantic.
Okay.
And so, but it's also professional in the sense of, and there's a lot of bantering between them and stuff, where she's kind of kids him about stuff, about his characteristics and different things. And so, so I kind of like that, being able to have that interaction. And then there's the interaction with the editor, who's kind of this gruff older guy, kind of a little bit like Bob, but
kind of a little bit
and
older. He said older. Gruff, older.
Yeah, you gotta be a kind of the gruff thing.
Yeah.
But anyway,
With a beard?
No, he's bald. My guy's bald.
Bald?
Yeah, but
I'm working on it.
But no, so I got to have that. He's kind of and then you got the publisher, who's of course interested in not offending people and stuff like that. So you have that interaction, because over the years, anytime you work in a newspaper, you understand all the things. You got the stories where the publisher's going, no, we're not going to run that, or we're not, or that's going to get buried inside because, it's a big advertiser, or whatever the reason is.
Right.
But so all of those kind of things play in together.
Right.
So.
What the other thing that I'm trying to think of is like, how do you develop the personalities? Like, how do you choose the characteristics of the personality? Like being nice, not being nice, being pushy, not being pushy.
Yeah. Do you really write out that character?
Did you list the traits?
Yeah, list the traits and
So sometimes I do on the book I'm currently working on. I have written out a lot of the characters, because there's more characters in my third book than even in my second, and it's more. I found as I write and do another book, the plots get a little more complicated, and so keeping all those straight and everything, it's sometimes good to write down some of the characteristics that you want to have for that character.
And keep consistency.
And that kind of thing.
Do you kind of give clues as you go along?
How do you determine those clues?
Yeah. Subtle hints or dramatic revelations?
Yes, I try to throw in some red herrings throughout every mystery. So there will be like a character that you think might be the murderer, could be, but then it goes along, and then that doesn't jive. So then so I usually try to have several different characters that could possibly be the murderer, so that people don't just immediately know who it is.
You don't want your reader to know the ending before they get there.
Right. Or if you question, like if they're questioning somebody, one of my characters in one of the plots, basically lied to them, told them that wasn't the truth. Then they find out later that isn't the case and stuff.
Right.
So it just kind of moves on that way.
Why focus on reporters in a small town?
Because reporters tend to be vilified all the time, and
but they're curious too.
and it's a standard thing. I have a friend who's an attorney, and attorneys and reporters all end up way down on the list of people that in all the polling, who do you hate? Well, they're always the ones you hate. Trial lawyers and reporters are always mentioned.
Right.
So it's all. So I kind of wanted to do something where, okay, these guys are, can do good stuff and everything like that. And that's what I know. And so in writing mysteries, I wanted to give some realism to it.
Okay.
And when you've worked all the time in journalism like him, especially small town journalism, I can write about that. I know how the newsroom's set up. I know how stories get put together. I understand the deadlines and that kind of thing.
Right.
And so that's kind of why I went with that.
How do you do your crime research?
I check things online. When I was doing one book, I checked on poisons, and so I found this really great blog on poisons, and I started reading that, and it told me all sorts of really interesting things. Here's a great idea what you can use and stuff. So I'll do that. I got a book at home that is on weapons, guns, and knives. So it'll tell you this is a revolver and it shoots this many, has this many things and bullets and whatever. And here's a pistol, and what's semi-automatic, what's not. If you're gonna, and it also talks about if you're gonna have somebody and you're gonna knife them, gives you some information on that and some really helpful things like it'll the guy who wrote
Has
the
to
book
have a blade longer than 4 inches.
yeah or like the guy who wrote the book he'll write this little script, and then he'll go, here's what's wrong with that, and then he'll put the way
cool.
it should be.
Oh, wow.
I brought that to a writers group thing once, but anyway, that's a really
I think you
good.
did.
That's
Yes,
a really
you
good
did.
book. If
I
people are
remember
interested
I remember
in
you
that,
bringing that to the Writers
yes.
Guild.
So that's a really good book. And you can find all sorts of these online.
I do remember that.
There's a book on forensics. I haven't bought, but I mean, you go to Amazon, Google in books. A lot of times when I do my research, I'll put in writer wants to know, because I told my wife that, like, I really don't want the FBI coming to my door because I'm like, how to blow up a bridge or whatever. Although interestingly,
Don't write a book about the president. Huh?
No, but interestingly, the government even has a very nice thing about explosives, which is just online, and it tells you how to basically connect all your sticks of dynamite and everything else.
Oh my goodness.
Do you use AI at all? Have you started using AI?
I have not really used AI.
I mean, I've started using AI, and it is far more extensive than what Google turns out. It's just a fascinating thing to me, but I was curious as to using it at all.
I haven't really used AI. That may have something to do with, I think, younger generation probably would jump on that more.
Thank you.
Don't get too excited there, Curly.
Yeah. No, but I think it could be useful.
It's where it's used. It is useful in getting information.
Right.
It is useful in getting information,
and that's another.
And it
thing,
is useful in getting started in something, not as a finished product, but to get started. All right, you are listening to The Author's Edge with Gael Freer and Bob Price, coming to you weekly on Saturdays at 10 a.m. and on KWRH 92.9 and KXOK 102.9 FM, and Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network. You can also view our latest videos of past shows at authors-edge.com online, and download valuable information on marketing and publishing. And speaking of publishing, we have some publishing tidbits for creating some interesting fictional mystery writing. Starting with strategic foreshadowing, making sure you have subtle clues early on that hint at upcoming twists. Plant foreshadowing in key scenes to build anticipation without giving too much away. Character complexity. Develop well-rounded characters with hidden motives and conflicting desires. Reveal characters' backstories and secrets progressively to maintain intrigue. Don't give everything away right away. Tight pacing control. Manage pacing. What?
It just sounds like a date I once had.
You only had one date?
Yeah.
Manage pacing alternating between moments of tension and release. Structure chapters to end on cliffhangers or revelations to keep readers eager. Turning the pages. Red herrings with a purpose. Don't just throw a red herring in there just because you like red. Incorporate and red herrings thoughtfully, making them integral to the plot. And unconventional resolutions. Channel genre norms by crafting resolutions that defy expectations. Tie up loose ends. Readers don't like to be dangled.
That was another date I had. Yeah. But
So,
let me talk about your book.
Okay.
Tell
the
me.
publishing aspect.
Well,
No, talk about why did he choose Amazon as opposed to doing
well, he
it?
does. He does.
Actually,
Well,
let's
Mark
take
is-
a look really closely.
Mark
at this.
is doing
Grounded in
a.
Murder. This is the book. It's really, I like the cover. I like the tombstones.
Who did you use for this cover?
The individual I use is the same person that my friend in Springfield, Missouri uses, and he does all of his book covers. And I liked his book covers, and he does my. I give him an idea, like in this case, there's a black cemetery involved in this, and so I showed him a photo of a cemetery that's. I said I want it to be kind of not.
Really cool.
Kind of untidy cemetery and everything. And then he'll send me back a thing. And then, I'll look at it. And sometimes I'll say, well, can we change that or whatever? But yeah, he does a really good job with that. He came up with the font and all that and followed through with, so he does all those kind of things. And so.
Are you going to reveal his name?
Dave Lappin is his name.
Dave Lappin. Okay, out of Springfield.
Out of Springfield. And
Okay.
the reason I know about him is, again, because my friend Jim Wilder in Springfield, who does books, and did his books. And when I was looking for someone, lo and behold, and he's very reasonable, which is another factor. And so he does that. He does that, and he puts it on, he formats it and posts it on Amazon.
Oh, wow.
For
That's
me.
really cool. You also have another book. Can
Yeah,
I take a look
yeah.
at that?
That's the first book, Foul Rising. That's
Foul Rising.
yes,
That's the
and
other book that is also on Amazon. Okay. And it also takes place in Elmwood.
right on the Mississippi River with
It's the first one.
with a cable stay bridge. If you go down, if you're ever ready
Oh, yes.
to Gerardo,
Yes.
it looks very much like that.
You see?
I remember that.
You remember the bridge?
I remember the bridge.
Very good.
Do you remember the old bridge?
Yes, I do. I
spent
do remember the old
many a
bridge.
trip. to
Did
the
you?
Purple
Were you
Crackle.
there when I was there covering when they were
Yep.
supposed to blow it up
Yep.
and it didn't
Didn't
And
go
it did
right?
go. Mm-hmm.
It was all over the news. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
That
they
was
didn't.
long after my time.
right, right.
Yeah, right. In your
It
dreams.
was.
Uh-huh. All right. So getting back to your question, my
Mhm.
question originally, which was, why did you decide to just publish it on Amazon as opposed to traditionally?
Partly, I'm impatient, and
Do I understand
and
that concept?
the thing is, traditional publishers, you wait and wait, and you may never get a response back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're lucky if you get a response back, really. And my friend had done his online, and so at first I said, no, I'm going to try to go the traditional route. But after not getting
Any responses.
I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Go through Amazon and do that.
Well,
And I'm actually glad I did, because I'm not a patient person for that. I want to get it out in print. And
some of the biggest authors are doing this.
Yeah, exactly. Some of
Yeah.
them are. They're
This
being
exact
quite
strategy.
they're being quite successful.
Colleen Hoover.
Yes, I know.
She's
Don't yeah.
6
please
bestsellers.
let's not go there.
Well,
yeah,
she
let's.
does.
I know, but let's not go
And
there.
then she got picked up by a traditional
Mhm.
publisher.
And she did. You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Do you own your own ISBN number? Did you get your own ISBN? Good.
Yes.
Smart move.
Yes.
That
Why?
way,
Why is that?
because if you want to go and use it for any other
Oh.
company or any other method, then you have your own ISBN number. But if you have it if you use the free one with Amazon, you
can't.
can only use it with Amazon.
Right.
Mm.
So that's very careful.
How much is that? 65, 45
what to get it?
to get your own ISBN?
No, it's like $135.
135.
And then they have a special sometimes for 10 for 300 something dollars. If you are planning on really making it with being a writer or selling your books through other means, like going through Barnes and Nobles or going through any other men, you must get your
Sure.
own ISBN number. And it's not hard to do. You go online, you look up how to
Ingram
get an
Spark.
ISBN number. Ingram Spark. If you want to get your own ISBN number, just look it up online. I'm telling you, it's the easiest thing. It's easier than looking up your own name.
It's well invested, $135.
It's extremely well invested. Don't let anybody
Okay. That's interesting.
steer you wrong on that one. Get your own ISBN number. As a matter of fact, you can get your own ISBN number. You can get your own copyright. You don't pay anybody to do that. Okay.
Right.
Do not pay anybody. Do it yourself. It's easy. If I can do it, you can do it.
That may be something that we can post online
Absolutely.
and maybe expose a little bit.
Absolutely. It's a step-by-step process. It's 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Okay.
Is no 4?
You know how quickly you can get slapped?
1, 2, 3?
You can get slapped real quick.
1, 2, 3.
I can punch real fast.
Okay.
You have no idea. Ask my husband how
Folks,
fast
we
he
don't
gets-
want to see this.
Okay. Do you think it's important for a writer to also be a reader?
Yes.
Why?
I think I've always loved reading, and I think if you don't read, when you read, you learn so much from how other people write, and I think that helps. I know when I was young, growing up in St. Louis County, my mom would take my sister and I to the Kirkwood Public Library every Saturday, and we would check out books. And they had a ton of books at home too. So reading I was always brought up with reading. And
So was I.
So that's,
Reading.
I've always had that love of thing. There's nothing, I love going to a library and looking at books. I love going to the library and seeing my books in there and everything too. But yeah, it's just, so I just think it would be very difficult, I think, to be a good writer if you don't read.
I
That
agree.
brings up a little question about, have you done any marketing towards libraries?
Not really. I have had, we've had some book signings through the local writers group and different things like that. Library. I recently did one at a library in Jackson, Missouri, and that was not a very successful thing. So libraries haven't been really where I've sold most of my books.
Okay. Well, contact information. If they want to get a hold of you, how do we get a hold of you?
You can email me at mbliss, MBLISS 3901 at yahoo.com.
Okay.
And that's the easiest way. Or I'm on Facebook. So
Mark Bliss on Facebook.
on Facebook.
Okay. And you can also just go to Amazon and you can get his book there.
That's a good tip.
That's a good tip.
And you should read this book. It's a good book.
It's a good book. Thank you for tuning in to Author's Edge. Tune in again next week for more tips, resources, and your favorite conversation. Our next guest will be Matt Cheney, and he's going to talk about Missouri and the Ozarks. Till then, see you around the inkwell.
Bye.
Bye.
Sweet accord we thank